KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says that the Independent Police Investigative Directorate has withdrawn a letter which asked him to respond to a complaint against him by an anonymous person. So the complaint alleged that Mkhwanazi had protected drug-dealing prison official. Mkhwanazi says IPID wrote him the withdrawal letter 2 weeks ago. However, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate says that it is still investigating Commissioner Mkhwanazi, where just last month the police watchdog IPID announced that it was investigating Mkhwanazi for allegedly interfering with the arrest of a senior correctional official. The alleged incident took place in 2023 in Richards Bay on the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal. IPID indicated in an earlier statement that the investigation was prompted by an anonymous complaint.
As per our statement released on the 16th of March 2025, is that we are not going to engage on this matter until such time that our investigation is concluded.
We're going to continue with that story. General Manager at the Public Servants Association, Reuben Maleka, joins us for more on this. Reuben, good evening, and thank you for making time to chat with us here on the SABC. In view of developments that's happening, I mean, you're of the view that the complaint against the Commissioner Mkhwanazi was politically motivated. Perhaps you can weigh in. What makes you believe that?
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity. As the Public Servants Association, we welcome the decision of the withdrawal of the matter. We are aware that the Commissioner Mkhwanazi was supposed to have responded to the letter in terms of the Audi rule. However, he was informed that he does not need to respond, and that shows that in a way IPID admits that they are not continuing with the investigation. Our main concern is that any attack on Commissioner Mkhwanazi is an attack on law and order, and that gives courage to criminals to say, you know, anybody else that takes out the criminals will be attacked by institutions of the state, such as IPID. We are worried that IPID on the 12th of March, they had contradictory statements. Firstly, they said that the complaint was coming from the office of the minister. Secondly, they came back to say that it was anonymous. From that point, we realized that there's some kind of political interference in what sought to be an investigation against Mkhwanazi. And that is why, from the onset as the PSA, we called for independent investigation by an independent person. But now we are greatly convinced that indeed there is no need to even for IPID to continue to investigate. And we are glad with the reports that they have withdrawn. They must not only withdraw, they must apologize to South Africans who loves law and order and say they are apologizing to all of us for the mess that they've caused. Because I think the South Africans who love law and order are distressed that a hardworking police commissioner is attacked, is being discouraged to combat crime. Therefore, IPID has done wrong to the South Africans who loves law and order. They must apologize to the public.
All right, so Reuben, from PSA's side, you are saying that there was, or there are calls for independent investigation to really what transpired, and then obviously also that public apology in view of these, this being withdrawn as well against Commissioner Mkhwanazi. Perhaps at this point, we're asking whether systemic reforms are also necessary. Because you're alluding to the fact that IPID is being weaponized. And so if that is the case, what reforms are you also calling for at large?
First of all, and that is our challenge that we always find ourselves, that institutions such as IPID, ISIU and NPA, you do not need leadership that is deployed. You need a competent, experienced individuals to head such institutions without fear or favor. And that is the reforms that we're calling for. To say that if we find ourselves having leadership in IPID who are manipulated in this form where we find ourselves having to meddle with politics, we will call for reforms. We'll call for say that IPID needs to be reformed so that we can have men and women who lead it without fear or favor, who are qualified and competent, so that they do not take side when they're influenced by politicians, such as the stance that has been taken by Commissioner Mkhwanazi. He is independent, he is fighting crime without fear or favor. So the same attitude, the same where we need IPID. And that is why we're calling so that there must be reforms. IPID must remain independent. IPID must never be used for any political mileage or scoring. It must be led by men and women who are competent and not being monopolized or even interfere in any political squabbles. They must independently do their job without fear of favor.
So, Reuben, following that, I mean, you early on alluded to the point about respect for rule of law. There's also issues of trust and just public sentiment with regards to authorities at large. And I wonder, from your vantage point, how do you think that the saga is affecting those factors? And perhaps if we're even going to extend to the next options available for Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, what does that recourse then look like at large?
The recourse is that, in general, South Africans, everywhere else, even outside of the province of KZN, the South Africans are distressed. South Africans are worried that the hardworking commissioner is under siege. And that is why you find that there are various organizations, there are also NGOs out there who are pushing to see that they actually organize even march to say that let's organize marches, let's go and demand and hand over memorandums. They're also the traditional leaders in KZN, they have expressed concern about what is happening to Commissioner Mkhwanazi. In fact, Commissioner Mkhwanazi is a symbol of law and order. Is a symbol of a person that says, I do not want to see criminality. Remember, the fight that we find ourselves as a country today, where even you look at the economic situation, where now it's a fight about the VAT, is simply because if this country can deal with crime and corruption, we would not need to find ourselves even fighting about budgets, fighting about where to find money. Remember, crime deter economic development, corruption deter economic development. The same way that we find ourselves, the neighboring countries, for example, where we are borderless and hijacks are all over the country, it's because when the hijacks happens, it also affects the economic stability of the country. But we have one competent commissioner who says, not in my province. And I'm sure elsewhere, every South African, they're saying, would love to see the same courage of Mkhwanazi spread across all provinces to ensure that we deal with crime and corruption in a manner that will not have a situation where South Africa can struggle economically. Because we strongly believe that crime and corruption contributes to the struggles that we find ourselves as the country.
All right, Reuben, thank you for weighing in. We'll leave that conversation there for now. General Manager at the Public Servants Association, Reuben Maleka, there just in closing, reminding us that economic development is needed to combat crime and corruption. Of course, also to mitigate against the enabling environments, contributing to those as well. Again, Reuben just weighing in from the PSA following the formal withdrawal of the complaint lodged against Independent Police Investigative Directorate against KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi.